Daisy chains and sweet champagne, and 2 days alone with you. Not too far from the city by car, or maybe we can make a more romantic trip by train to the country. It's where I want to be with you for the week.
Good Monday morning, folks. Good Monday morning. It is the 16th, and oh gosh, what a world we live in, my friends. What a world we live in. So today we're going to do what I think is part 18 of the Apple Press build, and it's been a busy 3, 4, 5 days. My goodness, we're in crazy times. So I've been very busy this last weekend on the 14th and 15th, taking care of other issues, and still managed to put in some time here in the shop on the Apple presses. And as I said in the last video, I'm going to catch ahead of you in where we're at on these presses, so that we've gotten a lot done. I've made huge progress. I'm feeling really happy about the progress that I have made, and I want to show you what we have done and what the next steps are and how we go about where we left off. So let's take a look at it. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Here we are. So I've got them laid out here, kind of cleaned up, kind of blew them off, get the dust off of them somewhat, so that we can see where we stand on the presses. Since the last time we have talked, I have done everything that I said I was going to do, plus a little bit. And so let's start with the easiest stuff. Okay, I've gone ahead and I have installed, using the 5/8 rods, cut the length, drilled, cotter pinned and everything, gotten the wheels on there. One thing I've noticed is none of these wheels are exactly the same diameter, and even with the similar air pressures, there's slightly differences in them, the way they're made and whatnot. So when this thing sits, it may not sit exactly level, and because of 2 issues. One is, this time around I lowered the wheel to get the leg further off the ground. Before I only had an inch or so of clearance. Now I've got about 1.5 inches of clearance between the foot and the ground, and that helps when you're like rolling this out into the yard, where you might be pressing out there in the yard and the grass and stuff, because before the leg would tend to hit clumps of grass or rocks or stuff. So try to give it a little bit more clearance, not a lot, because like I said, I don't want it jacked up. But in order to balance that this time, I went ahead and did something I hadn't done before. So this is new. I put in these adjustable feet in here, and these are fun. If you ever put them in, they're fairly easy. So you get yourself a T-nut, and this is a T-nut. It's got 3/8 coarse thread, which is what this nut is, with a little pad on it. And all you have to do is pre-drill out deep enough for the full length of the thread of whichever feet you happen to get, and then you also pre-drill around for the T-nut to fit in there. Now, once I did, I only took a few little 1-inch box nails. These are little box nails that you can get at your hardware store, and I just drove them in there to hold it in. So these are adjustable, so if the floor isn't level, you can raise or lower one or the other to stabilize the thing. So that's a little bit of an upgrade, and it makes it a little nicer, I think. That's just a little icing on the cake for the quality of the build. And so that wasn't that difficult, fairly easy. You see I got a big washer in and on either side of the wheel, and yeah, looks good. I'm very happy with it. And the tough part was, and let's look at Sonny's press here, because we're nearly done with these things. We're almost there, but I did the best. I think I did the best job on the press handle here. I'll get a little bit of, we can put a little food grade oil on this, and it'll stop it from chattering, and it will spin a lot easier. But there you go. That is it. Save one last task. And I didn't do that. I should have done it before I started recording here. But I'm going to cut these bolts down to where they're flush with the top of the nut, so they're not, you're not going to catch your hand and booger yourself up on that. But nice and square plates. And again, if you didn't catch it in the beginning, or if I didn't say it, the reason I put these plates on here is when I drill the hole, that weakens the strength of this upper beam. Essentially all you have is a little bit of wood right here and right here that's holding. Now it's a lot of wood. That's about a 1x3 and a 1x3 of oak, and it's pretty strong. But I wanted a little bit stronger clamp and hold on there, so that if this decides to want to flex a little bit, I've got two metal plates clamped together holding this thing flat. And that's what that's for. So if you screw this thing tight enough to break this by putting that much pressure on it, well, you kind of deserve to have broken it, because you wouldn't have been smart enough. This thing is going to take a lot of pressure. And what I did notice in the previous builds was that once I get to going at it, once you're breaking this thing in, because you got all these joints that are, phone call. Be back in a sec. Alright, sorry about that. It was on a blink of an eye for you, but oh my goodness, that was, I don't know, 45-minute phone call. Oh, getting things done in this world. Alright, well, let's see, where did I leave off with you folks? Alright, so we got the press plates done, or the screw plates, and I'm really happy with them. My welds are getting much better. With anything, when you don't do certain things often enough, you lose your skill sets. And not that I was the best welder in the world ever to start with. When I was doing a lot more welding, I was in a better habit of stitching out a bead and getting a good bead in it. But anyway, I'm happy with where we got. It's more than just presentable. It looks good. And it's good and functional. I do need to cut these off here in order to not have them where you could catch yourself on them. And what else do we want to do? I think that's it, folks. Let me wheel this dude out here, one-handed. Alright, so the next task, so for all intents, we're almost 100% done. I got a little light sanding that I've been doing, some places that I'm going to touch up with some poly before we're done to clean it up. I've got to brand it. I got to put my brand here and here. And then we got to mount motors. So that's the next big thing to do. I'll do a little touch up poly here and there on a few spots. And then we got to mount the motor. So I'll have to get this dude up off the ground. And we're going to get this motor mounted on that one, and this one is going to go on to this one, which is mine. So we got a little bit of work to do here, because like I told you in the beginning, these are two different motors, and this has got a 5/8 shaft in it, and this one's a 3/4 inch shaft in it, and I got a longer shaft here and a short one. So I'm going to have to come up with a different design for how I mount this. In the previous one, I'd run a board here, put one big fat bolt in here as a hinge, and then bolt the motor to the end of the board. You can see that in some of the older photos and videos. And what would happen is the weight of the motor would just pivot and hinge and sit down on the V-belt, so that it was never more than just the weight of the motor holding the V-belt on there. And if you ever needed to, you can push down on the lever here and it would raise the motor up and you could slip the V-belt off. Very simple way to do that. That's what I will do with this one. However, I'm not sure I can do it with that because that would put the motor on the inside of the board here. So you'd have another board on here plus the 1.5 inches here. So you'd have 2.5 inches before you would clear this face. And as you can see, this pulley is, can't even get the camera in here, very close to the leg. So we would have to come out that far and far enough to go through the little drive pulley. So that thing has to sit essentially right down in here somewhere to get the belt to it. I'm not sure, and that's the hard part. And then once I do that, the wiring, the little outlet box, the little switch box, we'll get that screwed on right here on the leg and get it wired together, and then we're done. Oh my goodness, I can't. Could we actually be done? Tell you what, I enjoy building these things. They're so much fun. What I haven't had as much fun with on these is not being able to stay focused and on them. It's taken me a lot longer to get through these than I would have liked to have. But, you know, that is the nature of things, and there's prepping, and there's gardening, and there's community work, and all kinds of other things that I'm into at the moment. So I don't know how long the first part was, but I think we're going to call it good for this segment 18, even though it's a little shorter and I'm not really showing, well, I've shown you quite a bit. Let's do that. Let's call it good. Let's say goodbye for this moment, because we've gotten pretty much completed with that, because I really need to think about how I'm going to mount this dude and get it wired. It's not a lot of work to do, but it's a lot of thinking involved. Let me just come back on, so part 19, which will probably be the final part, or part 20. I want to get both these motors on and get them wired, get the switches wired up and the plugs. So we got the cord here, this heavy duty cord that we'll use, and as an extension cord. It's even heavier duty than this is number 10 wire, and we got the plug-in to put on it and all that stuff. We'll show you that how we get through that in the next video. So on that note, it's a lot of work, my friends, a lot of work. I don't know what else I can say. There's a few other touch-up details, but for all intents, that's it. I mean, wheel that dude back here. I like it. This will be something that will be handed down for generations through families and homesteading activities. Yes, they will. All right, enough of this. Let me get to working on that motor, and we'll catch you in the next one.